Ultimately, we're all dead men or dead women for that matter. Every physical life, every life has to end in death. And so I don't want to be negative about the subject, but you need to be aware that you have this life and that eventually you're going to die. One day you're going to die. That's just a fact. So the question is, what are you going to do with your life? Are you going to live your life trying to make someone else happy? Or are you going to live the life that you're supposed to live? Now, what do I mean by that? Everyone came here to this earth with a specific set of talents and abilities, and it is up to you to find out what those talents and abilities are so that you can fulfill your destiny. It is your job to find out who you are, and it doesn't matter how long it takes, but you won't be happy or fully fulfilled until you do what you're supposed to do in this world. And whenever you feel like depressed or unhappy, it's really a sign that you're not in line with what you're supposed to do. Now I want to start off with some questions. Things like, imagine that you won $10 million in the lottery, and you can buy the houses and the cars and everything that you want. But what are you going to do with your free time? And let's say the condition of the 10 million would be that you need to pick a job where you have to go to for 40 hours a week. What would you do? What would that be? Now, in the brochure, Finding Your True Purpose in Life, there is a number, I think there's like over 50 different questions about trying to find out what your true purpose is. So I want to encourage you to read that brochure and go through those questions and take some time to really answer them thoroughly. For example, who are you? Or who are you really? What were you meant to do with this life? What is your mission in this life? What talents did God give you that you can use to make this world a better place? When you were a kid, remember when you were a kid, what are the things that you wanted to become? So try to answer all these kind of questions. There's more questions in the brochure. And really take some time, take like a few hours and go to a place like the beach or the mountains or wherever you have some peace and quiet and try to answer those questions. Now I want to help you with a few things here. So just to give you some insights. Ask yourself, what are your passions? Huh? So what are your passions? And make a list of all your passions. Now, what would you say are your talents? What talents do you have? What are you really good at? What are your skills? Okay, so what things can you do exceptionally well? And then, what areas of knowledge do you have? Okay, what kind of hobbies do you have? What is something that you really enjoy doing? Then ask yourself too, what do you do with your free time? What kind of magazines do you read? Or what kind of books? Okay. And so make a list of all these things. And once you make a list of all these things, you're going to realize or discover that whatever we do is not random. Whatever you choose to read or to do with your time is not random. Apparently, there's something more behind it that fits your true purpose. So I want to encourage you to take that time and really make a list and start thinking about who you are and what you're supposed to do in this world. The things that you are passionate about are not random, they are your calling. Maybe you've heard this statement before. A painter needs to paint, a writer needs to write, and a musician needs to make music. Okay? So imagine you have this secret dream, and you have this dream of playing the violin in the orchestra, in the biggest orchestra of the world, for example. Okay? But you've never actually played the violin in your life before, but you still dream about that. If you have those kind of dreams, then you should explore them. Because I can tell you this, it's not my dream, and I definitely don't want to play the violin. So that wouldn't be a dream that I had. But maybe you have something like that, and you have a dream like that. And if you have that, you need to, even if you've never done it before, even if it might be a hidden talent of yours, okay? It might be something, a hidden wish that lingers inside of you. So look at all the dreams that you have, the dreams where you may be afraid to talk about. Maybe things that you don't want to share with anyone because you feel you're going to be ridiculed, or people are going to laugh at you, or they're going to tell you it's not possible. But you're only going to be really happy, or truly happy, if you fulfilled your true destiny. When I was young, I wanted to become an actor. But I thought, oh, maybe I want to become a Hollywood star. But then think about this. Is that really what you're supposed to do? Or is it because you like the attention, you like the fame? So ask yourself things like that too, okay? And explore those secret wishes, those things where you're afraid to tell anyone. Also make a list of all the professions that you wanted to become when you were a kid. Okay, so for example, I want to become a journalist at one point. I want to become a priest at one point, then an actor, then a doctor, and things like that. But it's not necessarily those specific professions that will tell you, oh, this is what you're supposed to do. It's what kind of traits come with that kind of wish or those kind of professions. And just make a list and ask yourselves, what could that be? The next thing you should examine are your values, okay? And what kind of values do you have? What are your 5 most important values in this life? And if you make a list and you truly ask yourself, is this my value? Is this what I believe in? Is this how I would act in any case? Then yes, that's your value. And if you know yourself, if you know who you are, that's when you truly can excel and be yourself. But I want to give you another example too. So values is one thing, but the list of priorities, how you, in what order you have those values, is also important. Let's say we have 2 people. We have person A and we have person B. And they both have the same values. And the values are career, health, for example, and family. Okay, now, person A, his first value is career, then health, then family. That's the third most important value in his list. But person B has family, then health, for example, and then career as the third most important value. Now, when you look at this, and the boss says, oh, I need you guys to stay longer today at work, who do you think is going to be the person who is going to choose that? It's going to be person A. Person B, who has family, doesn't want to be away from his family. He rather spends more time with the family than working on his career, whereas person A is more important. His career is more important than the family. It doesn't mean that it's good or it's bad. Okay, it doesn't. I don't want to judge here, but you need to figure out what is the order of your values, and depending on that, you will make your decisions. So under pressure, usually that's when we make those kind of decisions, and you find out what your true value is, not what you think your value is or what is nice, to have, so to speak. Okay, so once you find out what your values are, put them in order of importance, and then you will find out more about yourself. The next thing is personality tests. And I want to encourage you to do as many personality tests as you possibly can, because it really helps you to understand who you are in this world. Now, there are several personality tests, and each of them are called a little bit differently. But in general, there's 4 types, 4 kind of people in this world, okay? And I would just want to give you my kind of personality test that I learned. And there's people who have the color red, okay? the color blue, then green, and yellow. Okay, so this is those are the personality types. Now, who is the red person? The red person is someone who's more dominant, who's outgoing, who is a go-getter, and he has those kind of strengths, but he also has some weaknesses. Maybe he talks too much and says things that he shouldn't say, or maybe he hits his head, at the wall several times before he learns his lesson because he's so emotional and so loud and obnoxious sometimes even. Okay, but the red person has also a lot of strength and power and dominance. Okay. So that's the red type. The blue type is different. The blue type is someone who likes analysis, who is a computer guy, maybe a nerd for technical stuff. He likes numbers. He's really good with accounting and numbers and details and things like that. And the green person is someone who is really sweet and nice and can communicate, who is friendly, who always has time, who smiles most of the time. Okay, and the yellow person is someone who is outgoing, who is unique, who likes to communicate, but is someone who will always choose basically something that goes against the crowd, against what everybody else is doing. Okay, so they drive a special car or things like that. So there is no good type or bad type. It doesn't mean that the red type is better than the green or the blue is better than the yellow, because everybody has one dominant type and the secondary type. That's also important. And it's, each type has their strengths and their weaknesses. So it doesn't really matter who you are in that regard. But if you know who you are in regards to your type, then you maybe find a profession or do an activity that is more in line with your personality than not. So let's give you an example. So the red type is someone who's more outgoing, who's more aggressive, who is goal oriented. Okay, so the red type is probably better as a sales professional. Making phone calls, trying to convince people with his dominance and maybe aggressiveness, so to speak. Okay, a blue person on the other hand, who is more analytical and likes numbers and so forth, will probably make a better accountant. Okay, and a green person who likes people, who smiles a lot, who's really friendly, is probably better in customer service or in a social profession, who is a social worker. And the yellow type might be someone who is more into fashion or things like that, because they like to be special or different than the rest of them. So based on your personality type, you should also choose your profession. And then I also want to encourage you to look at your fields of interests that you have, or the industries where you worked in. Okay, and typically if you try to start your own business or be successful in that area, it is maybe something that is 10% better than the current market standard. So if you find out usually 90% of who you are is hidden in the things that you already do or the things you already spend most of your time in. So look at your current profession. Maybe there's something you don't like, or maybe you're unhappy about the job that you currently have. But it doesn't mean that it's the wrong thing for you. It might be the right kind of industry for you, the right kind of area, but maybe the circumstances are wrong. Maybe the type of job within that area is wrong. But maybe you are exactly where you're supposed to be, and the industry in itself is not the wrong industry. Okay, so look at your industry and try to find out what is it that you could do otherwise or differently. Okay, now the next or the last thing I want to encourage you to do is just to do some soul searching and go within yourself and try to find out who you are, what your real talents and strengths are. Because you will never excel in an area where you have weaknesses. It just doesn't work. But you will never fail. Okay, listen, you will never fail if you do what you're meant to do with your life. And you find out when things flow, when it doesn't feel like you're working, when you like and enjoy the kind of work that you're doing, when you do those things that you're supposed to do, then you know that you are on the right path. So I want to encourage you to really spend that time to do the soul searching. And once you do that, then fully with all your heart go into it and make your life happen.